Hello, friend. Welcome to Science for Sleep. Whether you have been here before, or you are finding this quiet channel for the first time, this is a calm place to slow down, learn something gentle, and let the day slowly fall away. Tonight, we are going to spend some time with deer. And at first, deer may seem almost too familiar. You may picture a white-tailed deer standing beside a country road, half hidden in tall grass as a car passes by. You may picture one outside a farmhouse window at dusk, stepping carefully through a field, lifting its head when it hears a twig snap. Or maybe the first deer that comes to your mind is Bambi, the soft childhood image of a gentle forest animal with wide eyes and thin legs. That familiar picture is part of why deer are so easy to overlook. They do not feel strange in the way deep-sea fish feel strange. They do not feel distant like Saturn, or ancient like fossils locked in stone. They live near our roads, farms, forests, parks, and backyards. A white-tailed deer can stand only a few yards from a porch light, then disappear into the trees so quietly that the whole yard seems empty again. But the real animal is much stranger than the simple image. A deer is not just a graceful shape moving through the woods. It is a body built around fear, hunger, scent, speed, memory, and seasonal change. If you enjoy these quiet journeys, you're welcome to subscribe. And if it feels natural, to leave a comment sharing where you're listening from tonight. It helps others find their way to this calm corner of the world, one sleepy traveler at a time. The quiet continues here, just as it is. One of the strangest things about deer is that many of them grow living bone from their skulls. Antlers are not horns. Horns, like the horns of cattle or goats, are covered in keratin, the same basic material found in hair and fingernails. Antlers are different. They are true bone. Each year, a male white-tailed deer begins growing antlers from two bony spots on top of the skull, called pedicles. At first, the antlers are covered in a soft skin called velvet. That velvet carries blood and nutrients into the growing bone. For a while, the antlers are warm, living tissue. Then, when the bone is fully grown, the velvet dries and rubs away. The hard antlers remain through the breeding season, and later, they fall off. Then the whole process begins again. So the quiet deer at the edge of a field may be carrying one of the fastest and most unusual bone growth cycles in the mammal world. And that is only one hidden part of the animal. A newborn fawn survives in almost the opposite way. Before it can run well, it hides. A young white-tailed fawn lies low in grass, leaves, or brush, with its legs tucked under its body. Its reddish-brown coat is covered in pale spots, and those spots break up its outline in the patchy light under trees. For the first part of life, the fawn's best defense is not strength. It is stillness. Its body gives off very little scent, and its mother often leaves it alone for long stretches, returning only to nurse it. To a person walking by, the fawn may look abandoned, but most of the time, it is doing exactly what it was born to do. It is becoming part of the ground. Even the way deer eat is more complex than it looks. When a deer lowers its head to browse on leaves, buds, twigs, grass, acorns, or garden plants, It is feeding a hidden world inside its body. Deer are ruminants, which means their stomach system has several chambers. In the largest chamber, called the rumen, tiny microbes help break down plant material that humans could not digest in the same way. A deer can take rough forest growth, the kind of food that seems dry or woody to us, and turn it into movement, warmth, milk, antlers, and survival. And when enough deer feed in one place for enough years, their soft bites can change the forest itself. They can eat young tree seedlings before they grow tall. They can reduce wildflowers in the understory. They can shape which plants return and which ones quietly fade away. So tonight, the deer is not only a gentle animal in the woods. It is a ruminant, a browser, an antler grower, a hidden survivor, a creature related to elk, moose, reindeer, mule deer, roe deer, and tiny forest deer that most people will never see. The animal at the roadside is part of a much larger story. It belongs to a family spread across cold northern wetlands, snowy tundra, mountain slopes, deep forests, open fields, and human neighborhoods. And by the time we are done, that deer at the edge of the trees may not feel ordinary anymore. It may feel like a quiet doorway into the life of the forest itself. That quiet doorway opens wider when the word deer begins to stretch. Because a deer is not just one animal, it is a whole family. Scientists place deer in the family Cervidae. That family includes more than 40 living species spread across much of the world. Some of the deer people in North America know best, like the white-tailed deer, with its raised white tail flashing like a warning flag as it runs. Some are mule deer, with large ears that look almost too big for the head, moving through dry western hills and open brush. Some are elk, with heavy bodies, long legs, and wide antlers that can rise above grasslands and mountain meadows. And then there is the moose. The moose is also a deer. It may not feel like one at first. A moose can stand taller at the shoulder than many people stand at the head. Large males can weigh more than 1,000 pounds. Its legs are long enough to carry it through deep snow and marshy ground. Its broad muzzle can dip below the surface of a northern lake, pulling up water plants while the animal stands chest deep in cold, dark water. The same family that gives us the small deer at the edge of a backyard also gives us that giant, silent figure in the wetlands. The shape changes, but the family remains. Far to the north, another form of deer moves across Arctic and subarctic land. Reindeer and caribou are the same species, known as Rangifer tarandus. In North America, wild populations are often called caribou. In Eurasia, and in many domestic herds, they are often called reindeer. They cross tundra, snowfields, open valleys, and dark spruce forests. Their hooves can spread wide, helping them walk over snow and soft ground. In winter, those hooves can also help scrape through snow and ice to reach lichens and other low plants. Unlike most deer, both male and female reindeer can grow antlers in many populations. That one detail already makes them feel different. A white-tailed buck in a summer field, a moose in a Canadian wetland, and a reindeer crossing wind-carved snow may look like three separate ideas, but they are all branches of the same living tree. There are roe deer in Europe, small and quick. often seen at the edges of fields and woodlands. There are red deer, with deep calls during the rut, and antlers that can look like dark crowns against autumn hills. There are fallow deer with spotted coats and flattened antlers shaped almost like open hands. There are muntjacs in Asia, sometimes called barking deer, because of their sharp alarm calls. Some muntjacs are small, secretive forest deer, and males can carry short antlers along with long upper canine teeth that look almost like little tusks. There are pudus in South America, among the smallest deer in the world, standing low to the ground in dense forest, with rounded bodies and short legs, made for moving through thick cover. The word deer holds all of them. It holds animals that live in suburbs and animals that move through remote mountains. It holds animals that feed in open grasslands and animals that hide under heavy forest canopies. It holds bodies built for snow, swamp, dry brush, leaf litter, river valleys, farmland, and city parks. That is part of what makes deer so interesting. They feel familiar because one kind of deer may appear near a road or in a backyard. But the family itself is wide, old, and flexible. It has taken many shapes to fit many places. Still, beneath all that variety, there are shared patterns. Most deer have split hooves. Most are ruminants, using a special stomach system to break down plants. Most are alert animals, shaped by the need to notice danger before danger gets too close. Most live by balancing food, cover, movement, and fear. A moose lowering its head into lake water and a white-tailed deer stepping through a quiet garden are not as different as they first seem. Both are reading their surroundings. Both are choosing where to place the next hoof. Both carry the long history of a family that learned how to survive by staying watchful, moving lightly, and turning plants into life. And once all these different bodies are held inside the same word, the deer becomes less like a single animal and more like a pattern. A pattern of hooves, ears, stomachs, antlers, caution, and movement. The shapes may change from tundra to forest to wetland to suburb, but something underneath remains the same. That shared pattern becomes easier to see when the deer stands still. At rest, a deer can look almost weightless. The legs are thin. The neck is long. The body is narrow enough to slip between young trees, brush, and fence lines. But that delicate shape is not weakness. It is design. A white-tailed deer can move from complete stillness to a fast bound in a single breath. Its long legs lift the body above grass, snow, fallen branches, and uneven ground. Its hindquarters carry the strongest push. When danger comes too close, the back legs drive the body forward, and the spine flexes like a spring. That is why a fleeing deer does not simply run like a dog or a horse. It bounds. It rises and falls. It seems to float for a moment, then touch the earth again. In white-tailed deer, this leaping run is often called stotting or bounding. The deer lifts all 4 feet from the ground, then lands and launches again. A white tail flashes behind it, bright against brown leaves or dark trees. That flash can warn other deer nearby. It may also make the fleeing animal easier for its own group to follow through brush. The legs are only part of the story. A deer's hooves are split into 2 main toes, These are called cloven hooves. Each hoof spreads slightly under pressure, helping the animal grip soft ground. On a muddy trail, the two pointed halves press into the soil. In snow, the hoof can spread enough to give a little more surface area. On a leaf-covered slope, the edges can bite into the ground and help the deer keep balance. The hoof is not flat like a shoe. It is a small, hard tool shaped by millions of careful steps. Behind the main hoof, many deer also have smaller dew claws. These can touch the ground when the deer moves through soft mud or deep snow, adding extra support for a moment. That little detail matters in the places deer actually live. A forest floor is not smooth. It is a shifting surface of roots, stones, moss, wet leaves, broken sticks, and hidden holes. A field after rain can turn heavy and soft. A winter trail can harden into ice, then break into crust. A hillside can tilt under every step. The deer's body is made for this uneven world. Its narrow frame helps it pass through tight cover. Its shoulders and hips move with a quiet looseness. Its head can stay raised while the legs choose a path underneath. And when it must clear an obstacle, the whole body becomes a single motion. White-tailed deer can leap high fences and cross wide gaps when frightened or pressed. They are not built for long, steady running across open plains in the same way as pronghorn or horses. They are built for sudden distance. A burst, a turn, a leap, a vanishing. This is why a deer can appear so calm and then disappear so quickly that the scene seems to change without warning. One moment, it is standing at the edge of a field, ears lifted, body still. One front hoof paused above the grass. The next moment, the tail rises. The legs gather. The body folds and releases. Then the deer is already several yards away, passing behind saplings, crossing a ditch, and dissolving into the brown and grey pattern of the trees. It does not need to outrun danger forever. It often only needs enough speed, enough cover, and enough confusion to break the line of sight. A few seconds can matter. A few body lengths can matter. A bend in the trail, a fallen log, a screen of branches, or a patch of shadow can be enough. The same animal that looked fragile a moment ago becomes almost impossible to follow with the eye. This is the quiet trick of the deer body. It is not large in the way a moose is large. It is not armored. It has no claws, no sharp teeth for fighting, no thick shell, and no heavy hide. Its defense is awareness joined to motion, stillness joined to escape. The body waits. The legs are ready. The hooves rest lightly on the ground. But speed by itself is never enough. A deer has to know when the wind has changed, when a branch has moved, when a sound does not belong. The body can vanish only after the senses have already begun to listen. The senses begin before the deer moves, long before the legs gather under the body, long before the white tail lifts. The deer is already taking in the forest through the air. To a person, a quiet forest may seem almost empty. There may be a few tree trunks, a narrow trail, brown leaves, a soft breeze, and the distant sound of a bird. But to a deer, that same forest is full of messages. The air itself is carrying information. A deer relies heavily on smell. Its nose is wide, moist, and constantly testing the wind. Every small current of air can carry traces of other animals. A fox passing through the brush, a coyote moving along a trail, a human who walked by 10 minutes earlier, another deer feeding somewhere nearby. Even food has a scent map of its own. Fresh buds, fallen apples, acorns, wet leaves, bark, clover, and garden plants all send different chemical signals into the air. The deer does not need to see the whole world clearly to know something has changed. It can smell change. Wind direction matters because scent does not spread evenly in every direction. It drifts. It pulls. It moves around trees, fences, hills, and buildings. If the wind is blowing from a person toward a deer, the deer may know the person is there before the person ever sees it. If the wind is blowing away from the deer, the animal may seem calm for longer because the warning never reaches its nose. This is why deer often lift their heads and point their noses into the air. They are not simply posing. They are sampling the forest. They are letting the wind bring the world to them. Their ears are working at the same time. A deer's ears are large, cupped, and mobile. They can turn toward a sound without the whole head moving. One ear may angle toward a rustle in the leaves, while the other stays open to a sound from behind. This gives the deer a soft, moving radar for the forest floor. A squirrel scratching bark, a branch cracking under a boot, a bird giving an alarm call, or dry leaves shifting under another animal's weight can all matter. The forest does not have to become loud. It only has to become different. A deer listens for difference. Its eyes add another layer. Because the eyes sit on the sides of the head, a deer has a wide field of view. It can see much of what is around it without turning its head the way a human would. That wide view helps it notice movement from the side, where danger often appears. The trade-off is that deer do not see the world with the same sharp front-focused detail that humans use when reading words or looking straight ahead. Their vision is made more for scanning, for motion, for changes at the edge, for noticing that a shape, shadow, or branch has moved in a way that does not belong. This is why a deer may freeze instead of running right away. Stillness gives it time to compare signals. The nose says one thing, the ears say another, the eyes search for motion. The body waits while the forest explains itself. A human walking through the trees may think the woods are peaceful because nothing obvious is happening. But the deer's forest is never truly empty. It is layered with scent trails, air currents, tiny sounds, and small movements. A leaf turning over in the wind may mean nothing. A leaf turning over without wind may mean something. A twig falling from a tree may be ordinary. A twig snapping low to the ground may not be. A shadow may be harmless. A shadow that shifts against the breeze may be alive. This is the world a deer lives inside. It is not a world of single dramatic warnings. It is a world of small clues. The animal survives by weighing them quietly. Smell, hearing, sight, wind, memory, and body tension all come together before the first leap. The deer at the edge of the field is not just standing there. It is reading the shape of the evening. And because so much depends on what the air says, the timing of a deer's life begins to make more sense. The hour it feeds, the path it takes, and the moment it chooses to step from cover all matter. The timing of a deer's life often gathers around the edges of daylight. Many deer are crepuscular. That word simply means they are most active around dawn and dusk, not fully nocturnal, like an owl hunting deep in the night, not fully daytime animals, like squirrels moving openly through trees under the sun. Deer often choose the soft border between the two. Morning, when the first pale light begins to show the shape of the trees. Evening, when the sky dims and the land loses its sharp edges. For a person, dusk may feel peaceful. It is the time when porch lights come on, roads grow quieter, fields turn grey and gold, tree lines become darker than the open grass in front of them. A deer experiences that same hour differently. Dusk is not only beautiful, it is useful. The low light makes the deer harder to see clearly. Its brown coat blends into trunks, dry leaves, tall grass, and shadow. A white-tailed deer standing still near a forest edge can almost disappear before it even moves. Its back may look like a fallen branch. Its legs may line up with saplings. Its face may become just another dark shape in the brush. At the same time, there is still enough light for the deer to feed and watch. Complete darkness can hide danger too. But at dusk, the deer can lower its head to browse, then lift it again and scan the field. This is why fields, roadsides, orchards, and forest edges often seem to come alive in the evening. A place that looked empty at 3 in the afternoon may suddenly hold movement at 7 or 8, depending on the season. One deer steps out. Then another appears behind it. Then a smaller one comes from the brush, as if the forest has been quietly holding them all day. During warm months, deer may feed on clover, grasses, tender leaves, crops, garden plants, and new shoots. In autumn, they may search for acorns, apples, beech nuts, and other high-energy foods. In winter, when soft green plants are scarce, many deer turn more toward woody browse, such as twigs, buds, and evergreen tips. The time of day matters because feeding is never only feeding. It is exposure. Every step into the open gives the deer food, but also risk. A field may be rich with plants, but it has fewer places to hide. A roadside ditch may hold fresh growth, but it also brings headlights, engines, and sudden movement. A backyard garden may offer hostas, flowers, and fruit trees, but it may also carry the scent of dogs and people. So the deer waits for the hour when the balance changes. Less light, less heat, fewer people moving outside, more cover in the shadows. This is not a perfect safety. It is only a better chance. The deer's day is shaped by these small trade-offs. Hunger pulls it toward open feeding places. Fear holds it near cover. The fading light lets it move between the two. In early morning, the pattern can happen again in reverse. Before the world becomes bright and busy, deer may take a final feeding route across a field, along a hedgerow, through a meadow, or beside a quiet road. Then, as the sun rises higher, they often return to thicker cover. They may bed down in tall grass, brush, young trees, or sheltered slopes where their bodies are hidden from easy view. A bedded deer can lie so still that a person may walk near it without noticing. Only the dark eye, the curve of an ear, or the line of the back gives it away. This rhythm makes the deer feel like an animal of thresholds. It belongs to the edge of the woods, the edge of the field, the edge of human places, the edge of night. And in that dim hour, the body that was built to notice and vanish finally lowers itself toward the plants. The ears keep turning. The nose keeps testing the wind. The eyes keep searching the soft grey distance. But the mouth begins its quiet work. Leaves, stems, buds, and grass pass into the body. And hidden behind that calm feeding, another world begins to move. The leaves pass into the deer quietly. A few mouthfuls of grass, a tender green shoot, the soft tip of a maple seedling, a fallen acorn found beneath an oak tree. From the outside, feeding looks simple. The deer lowers its head, pulls at the plants, chews for a moment, then lifts its face again to listen. But inside the body, the meal is entering one of the most important systems a deer has. Deer are ruminants. That means they digest food with a special stomach system made for tough plants. Cattle, sheep, goats, bison, elk, moose, and giraffes are ruminants too. They all have bodies built to take rough plant material and pull energy from it slowly. A deer does not have a simple stomach like a human. Its stomach has 4 main parts. The largest part is called the rumen. It works like a warm, living fermentation chamber. Fermentation is what happens when tiny living organisms break food down and change it into new substances. In bread, fermentation helps dough rise. In yogurt, fermentation changes milk. Inside a deer, fermentation helps turn leaves, stems, bark, buds, twigs, and grasses into food the body can use. The rumen is filled with microbes. Microbes are tiny living things too small to see without a microscope. Some are bacteria, some are fungi. Some are single-celled organisms that move through the fluid inside the rumen. Together, they do something the deer could not do well on its own. They help break down cellulose. Cellulose is the strong material that gives plant cell walls their structure. It is one reason a twig is stiff. A leaf holds its shape, and a blade of grass can stand upright. Humans eat cellulose too, in vegetables, fruit skins, grains, and leafy greens. But we cannot break much of it down for energy. For us, most cellulose passes through as fiber. For a deer, with the help of microbes, that tough plant material becomes part of life. It becomes body heat on a cold morning. It becomes muscle for running. It becomes milk for a fawn. In males, it can even help support the enormous yearly cost of growing antlers. The deer's meal does not move through all at once. A deer often eats quickly when it is exposed in a field or forest edge. It may take in leaves and shoots, swallow them, and later bring some of that partly digested food back up into the mouth. This is called chewing cud. The deer chews it again, grinding the plant material into smaller pieces. Then it swallows it once more. This slow, repeated process helps the microbes reach more of the plant surface. It also lets the deer feed in a risky place, then finish part of the work later in a safer place. A deer might browse near a field at dusk, then bed down in brush or young trees and chew calmly while its body continues working. The other parts of the stomach help sort, absorb, and digest the food further. The reticulum helps trap and move material. The omasum helps absorb water and minerals. The abomasum is closer to what we think of as a true stomach, using acid and enzymes to digest food more directly. The system is not fast. It is steady. It is patient. It is made for an animal that lives from what the land produces. A deer can nibble blackberry leaves, young birch shoots, cedar tips, clover, sumac, apples, acorns, soybean leaves, garden flowers, or the tender buds of a young oak. Not every food is equal. Soft spring plants are rich and easy to digest. Woody winter twigs are tougher and less rewarding. Acorns can be packed with energy in autumn. A green lawn in summer may be easier food than dry forest stems. The deer's body has to sort all of this. Outside, the animal looks calm. Inside, fluid shifts through chambers. Microbes multiply. Plant fibers loosen. Gases form and are released. Nutrients pass through the gut and into the blood. The quiet deer standing in a field is really carrying a whole hidden community inside it. And this hidden community helps explain why deer can live in so many places. Forests, farms, wetlands, suburbs, mountain valleys, and snowy woods all offer different plants. The deer's body can use many of them, but every mouthful taken from the land leaves a small mark behind. One clipped seedling may not seem important. One missing bud may not change much. Yet the feeding does not happen once. It happens night after night, season after season, across trails, fields, and forest floors. And slowly, the quiet work inside the deer begins to leave visible signs outside the deer as well. The marks outside the deer are small at first. A clipped leaf, a missing bud, a young stem cut at an angle by lower front teeth, a seedling that grew only a few inches before it was eaten back down. These are quiet signs. They do not look dramatic. A deer does not tear through the forest like a storm. It browses. Browsing means feeding on leaves, shoots, twigs, buds, flowers, and soft woody growth. Grazing is more about eating grass close to the ground. Browsing is more selective. A deer may step past dry stems and old leaves to reach the tender new growth at the end of a branch. It may choose the soft leaves of a young maple. It may nip the buds from a sapling before spring has fully opened. It may strip the tips from shrubs, eat wildflowers before they bloom, or return again and again to the same patch of green plants along a trail. The forest records these choices. In spring, a young oak seedling may push 2 small leaves above the leaf litter. Those leaves are rich with the energy the tree needs to keep growing. If a deer eats them once, the seedling may recover. If it happens again and again, the little tree stays trapped near the ground. It may remain alive for years, but never reach the height where its leaves are safe. This is one of the quiet ways deer shape forests. They do not need to kill every young tree. They only need to keep enough of them from growing tall. A forest is always trying to replace itself. Old trees fall. Branches break. Storms open patches of sunlight. Seeds drop from maples, oaks, beeches, birches, hemlocks, cedars, and pines. Some seeds sprout in the dark, damp layer of leaves. Others wait for more light. If enough seedlings survive, they become the next forest. But if deer eat too many of them, the forest can begin to lose its future understory. The understory is the layer of small trees, shrubs, ferns, flowers, and young plants below the tall canopy. It is the green middle world between the ground and the treetops. Birds nest there. Insects feed there. Small mammals hide there. Spiders stretch webs between stems. Salamanders move through the cool, damp leaf litter beneath it. When heavy browsing thins this layer, the forest may look more open and park-like. At first, that can seem pretty to human eyes. You can see farther between the trunks. The ground may look clean and simple. But that open look can be a sign that many young plants are missing. Some plants are especially vulnerable because deer like them. Young oaks, maples, dogwoods, trilliums, lilies, hostas, and many tender wildflowers can be eaten before they finish growing or setting seed. In places with many deer, spring flowers may bloom less often because the flower stalks are eaten before they can open. Shrubs may become flat at the top, clipped at the height a deer can reach. Foresters sometimes call this a browse line. It can look like an invisible hand has trimmed the woods at one level. Below that line, leaves are sparse. Above it, branches may still grow thick. This is not the work of one animal in one evening. It is the result of repetition. One deer takes one bite. Then another deer takes another. A doe feeds with her fawn. A buck passes through at dusk. A small group returns after snow has covered easier food. Night after night, season after season, the bites add up. Over 10 years or 20 years, the pattern can become part of the forest structure. The trees that deer avoid may survive more easily. The plants they prefer may fade. Invasive plants, which are non-native plants that spread strongly in a new place, can sometimes gain an advantage if deer leave them alone while eating native species around them. So the deer is not only eating the forest, it is making choices that the forest must answer. Not with words, with height, with absence, with which flowers return in April, with which seedlings are still standing in June, with which young trees are tall enough to become shade for another generation. A deer walking through a quiet wood may seem like a visitor, but its mouth is a tool that touches the future. Each small bite enters the body, feeds the rumen, feeds the microbes, feeds the animal's warmth and movement. And behind it, on the forest floor, something is left unfinished, delayed, or changed. The deer lives inside the forest, but slowly, gently, and without meaning to, it also helps decide what kind of forest will be waiting for its own young. The forest's future can begin very quietly, not as a tall tree, not as a wide set of antlers, not as the flash of a white tail crossing a field, but as a fawn lying almost flat against the ground. A newborn white-tailed fawn may weigh only a few pounds. Its legs look too long for its body. Its ears look soft and oversized. Its coat is reddish-brown, covered with small pale spots that look almost like drops of sunlight. Those spots are not decoration. They are camouflage. On a forest floor, light rarely falls evenly. It comes through leaves in broken patches. Some places are bright, some are shaded, some are half lit by moving branches. A spotted fawn lying in grass or leaf litter can blend into that uneven pattern. Its outline breaks apart. The back becomes a patch of brown. The spots become flecks of light. The small body becomes harder to separate from the ground around it. At this stage of life, the fawn's best defense is not speed. It is stillness. An adult deer survives by noticing danger early and leaving quickly. A fawn survives by not being noticed at all. For the first days and weeks, a young fawn is not strong enough to escape many predators by running. It can stand and walk soon after birth, sometimes within hours. But walking is not the same as fleeing. Its legs are still new. Its balance is still unsure. Its body is still learning the shape of the world. So the fawn does something that can seem strange to human eyes. It lies alone. The mother, called a doe, often leaves the fawn hidden while she feeds nearby or rests at a distance. This does not usually mean the fawn has been abandoned. It is part of the strategy. An adult doe has a stronger scent. She is larger, easier to see, and more likely to draw attention. If she stayed beside the fawn all day, she might lead danger straight to it. So she returns only at certain times to nurse. Then she moves away again. The fawn remains low, silent, and tucked into the cover. Very young fawns also have little scent compared with older deer. That matters because many predators hunt partly with their noses. Coyotes, foxes, bears, bobcats, and domestic dogs can all follow scent. A fawn that gives off very little odor and stays still has a better chance of being missed. Its body is not fighting the world yet. It is hiding from the world. A fawn may press itself into tall grass at the edge of a meadow. It may lie under blackberry canes. It may rest among ferns beside a fallen branch or in the dry leaves near a young sapling. Sometimes it folds so tightly into the ground that only the dark, wet nose and the curve of one ear give it away. The body seems almost too small for the forest around it. But the behavior is ancient and precise. Stillness saves energy. Stillness avoids sound. Stillness keeps the grass from moving. Stillness lets the spotted coat do its work. Even the fawn's posture helps. The legs fold under the body. The head lowers. The ears may remain alert, but the rest of the body becomes quiet. To a passing person, the scene may feel tender. A tiny animal alone in the grass. But to the fawn, this is not loneliness in the human sense. It is shelter. The grass is shelter. The shadow is shelter. The mother's distance is shelter. The lack of movement is shelter. As the days pass, the fawn changes quickly. Its legs grow steadier. Its muscles strengthen. It begins to follow the doe more often. It learns the paths through cover, the sound of her steps, the places where feeding is safer, and the smell of warning in the air. The white spots will fade as the fawn grows older. By a few months of age, the coat begins to look more like the plain brown coat of an adult. The strategy slowly changes with the body. At first, the fawn survives by becoming part of the forest floor. Later, it must learn to become part of the moving forest. A body that once stayed hidden in grass will someday cross fields at dusk. It will test the wind with its nose. It will place narrow hooves on mud, snow, leaves, and stone. And if it is male in many deer species, its skull will eventually begin one of the strangest seasonal transformations in the mammal world. The life that began in stillness will learn to grow bone like a calendar. The calendar of a deer can rise from its skull, not as a thought, not as a memory, but as bone. Antlers are one of the strangest features in the mammal world because they are not permanent in the way many animal weapons are permanent. A bison keeps its horns. A mountain goat keeps its horns. A rhinoceros keeps its horn for years as it grows from the skin. But many deer grow antlers, use them for a season, lose them, and grow them again. Antlers are not horns. Horns usually have a core of bone covered by keratin. Keratin is the same tough material found in hair, fingernails, claws, and hooves. Antlers are different. They are true bone. They grow from two permanent bony bases on the skull called pedicles. The pedicles stay with the deer throughout life. The antlers rise from them, season after season, like branches returning from the same hidden root. In a young male white-tailed deer, the first antlers may be simple spikes. As the animal gets older and healthier, the antlers may grow larger, with more points branching away from the main beam. Those points are often called tines. A person seeing antlers lying on a forest floor in late winter or early spring may think they are looking at dead branches, but they are looking at something that was once living tissue. For part of the year, growing antlers are covered in velvet. Velvet is a soft layer of skin filled with blood vessels and nerves. It looks fuzzy from a distance, almost gentle. But beneath it, bone is growing fast. Nutrients and minerals move through the blood into the antlers. Calcium and phosphorus help build the hard structure. The body is taking material from food, from digestion, from stored energy, and turning it into a crown of bone above the eyes. In white-tailed deer across much of North America, antler growth usually begins in spring. The days grow longer. Hormones shift. Green plants return. The buck's body begins building. Through spring and summer, the antlers lengthen and branch, while the velvet stays alive around them. By late summer or early autumn, the bone hardens. The blood supply to the velvet slows. The velvet dries. Then the buck rubs its antlers against saplings, shrubs, and small trees, stripping the velvet away. The antlers that remain are hard, pale, and polished. They are no longer soft growing tissue. They have become a seasonal display, a tool, a signal, a pair of branching bones made for the charged months ahead. This is why antlers feel so much like a visible calendar. In spring, they begin as new growth. In summer, they swell under velvet. In autumn, they harden and appear in full. In winter, after the breeding season has passed, they loosen at the pedicles and fall away. A buck may walk through the trees one day carrying antlers, and later move through the same woods with a bare skull. The antlers may be left in snow, leaf litter, grass, or mud. Mice, squirrels, porcupines, and other small animals may later gnaw on them for minerals. Even after the deer has dropped them, The antlers keep feeding the forest in a small way. Not every deer follows the same pattern. Female reindeer and caribou can grow antlers too, which makes them unusual among deer. Moose grow broad, flattened antlers like open hands. Elk grow tall, sweeping antlers that can spread wide above their backs. Muntjacs carry short antlers, often with long bony bases. A white-tailed buck may carry a more familiar branching shape, with the main beam curving forward and tines rising upward. Different species grow different designs, but the deeper rhythm remains similar. Growth, hardening, loss, renewal. The antler is not just decoration. It is a sign of season, health, age, nutrition, and the body's ability to spend energy on something beyond simple survival. A deer that once lay hidden as a spotted fawn may someday stand in autumn light, with bone rising over its head. The same animal that survived by stillness now carries a structure that makes it more visible. That seems almost strange. Why would an animal shaped by caution grow something so large, so heavy, and so temporary? The answer begins in the cost of the antler itself. The cost begins while the antler is still soft. From a distance, velvet antlers can look almost peaceful. They have a rounded shape. They are covered in fine hair. In the low light of summer, they can make a buck look gentle, almost unfinished, as if the forest is still quietly building him. But velvet is not just a soft covering. It is living skin. It carries blood vessels. It carries nerves. It feeds the growing bone beneath it. If a growing antler is cut or injured while it is in velvet, it can bleed. It can hurt. The antler at this stage is not a dead branch on the head. It is part of the body's active work. During spring and summer, a buck's body sends nutrients into the antlers day after day. The rumen breaks down plants. The intestines absorb minerals. The blood carries building material upward toward the skull. Calcium and phosphorus help harden bone. Protein helps build tissue. Energy from leaves, buds, grasses, crops, acorns, and stored fat helps pay for the process. This makes antlers expensive. They are not necessary for chewing. They are not necessary for walking. They do not help the deer digest food or stay warm on a cold night. And yet the body builds them anyway. In many deer, antlers are among the fastest growing bones known in mammals. That speed is part of what makes them so unusual. Most bones grow slowly as an animal develops. Antlers return again and again. A buck may spend months building them, carry them through the breeding season, then drop them after their main purpose has passed. This makes the antler both temporary and demanding. It is like a structure raised for one season only, a living investment made from food, minerals, hormones, and time. The larger and more complex the antlers are, the more they can say about the animal carrying them. They may suggest age. They may suggest health. They may suggest that the buck found enough food in spring and summer to grow something beyond the basic needs of survival. Poor nutrition, illness, injury, or stress can affect antler growth. So an antler is not only a weapon, it is also information. Other deer can see it. Rivals can measure it from a distance. Females may notice the size and condition of the male. A heavy set of antlers can quietly announce that this animal had enough strength, enough food, and enough internal resources to build them. From far away, antlers can seem almost decorative. They rise from the head in branching lines. They catch light. They give the deer a shape that humans have painted, carved, and remembered for thousands of years. In ancient cave art, deer and antlered animals appear again and again, their heads marked by sweeping forms. To human eyes, antlers can look like symbols of wilderness. But to the deer, they are not symbols. They are tools of competition. When the velvet stage ends, the antlers harden. The blood supply to the velvet slows. The soft covering dries. The buck begins rubbing his antlers against saplings, shrubs, and small trees. The motion strips away the dead velvet. It also leaves scent from glands on the head and face. A small tree may be left with bark scraped away, pale wood exposed beneath the surface. These rubs become signs in the landscape. They show where a buck has passed. They mark his presence. They turn the quiet edge of the woods into a place of signals. The hard antler is different from the velvet antler. It is no longer tender growing bone. It is a firm structure ready for display, pushing, sparring, and sometimes fighting. Two males may lower their heads and lock antlers. They may shove, twist, and test each other's strength. Many encounters end without serious harm. One animal gives way, the other keeps the space. But the risk is real. Antlers can injure. Bodies can tire. Energy can be spent that the animal may need later in winter. This is the strange bargain of the antler. It is beautiful from a distance. It is costly up close. It is ornament, weapon, signal, and burden all at once. A buck carrying hardened antlers is still the same watchful animal shaped by scent and sound. But the season has changed inside him. Hormones rise, movement increases. The quiet animal begins to travel more boldly through fields, forests, roadsides, and shadows. The body that spent summer building bone now enters the season when that bone is finally used. The season of use arrives quietly at first. The air cools. Leaves dry along the edges. Acorns begin to drop beneath oak trees. In many parts of North America, white-tailed deer enter their breeding season in autumn, often from October into December, depending on location. This season is called the rut. The word sounds simple, but it changes the whole rhythm of the deer's life. A buck that spent summer feeding carefully and moving through cover may begin to travel farther. He may cross more trails. He may step into open places at unusual hours. He may follow scent through brush, across fields, over ditches, and along the edge of roads. The calm deer of summer becomes a more restless autumn animal. Part of this change comes from light. As days grow shorter, the changing length of daylight affects hormones inside the deer's body. In males, testosterone rises. Testosterone is a hormone that helps drive mating behavior, muscle changes, aggression, and competition. The antlers are already hardened. The velvet is gone. The body is prepared for the brief season when finding mates becomes more important than staying perfectly hidden. The forest begins to show signs of this change. A buck may rub his antlers and forehead against small trees. These rubs can strip bark from saplings, leaving pale wood exposed. A young cedar, pine, maple, or sumac may show a raw vertical mark where the antlers scraped and the head pressed. The rubbing helps strengthen neck muscles, removes leftover velvet, and leaves scent behind. Deer have scent glands on different parts of the body. Some are near the eyes. Some are on the forehead. Others are on the legs. The tarsal glands, found on the inside of the hind legs, are especially important during the rut. A buck may also make scrapes. A scrape is a patch of ground where he paws away leaves and debris with his front hooves. Above it, there is often an overhanging branch. The buck may lick or chew the branch, rub his face on it, and leave scent from his mouth and glands. Then he may urinate over his tarsal glands into the scrape. To human eyes, it may look like a small disturbed patch of soil under a branch. To deer, it is a message place. Other deer can visit it. They can smell who has been there. They can learn something about the buck, the timing of his visit, and the breeding season moving through the area. The rut turns the forest into a quiet network of signals. A broken branch, a dark scrape under a young tree, a rubbed trunk, a track pressed into soft mud, a scent trail crossing a field edge. The signs are easy to miss unless you know how to look for them. But the deer are reading them. Males also compete with each other. Some encounters are mostly display. Two bucks may walk stiffly, hold their heads high, or turn their bodies to appear larger. They may show the size of their antlers without touching. If neither gives way, they may spar, their heads lower. The antlers meet. They push, twist, and test each other's strength. Many contests end when one buck breaks away and leaves. But sometimes the fights are harder. The antlers can lock together. Bodies can be injured. Energy can be spent quickly. For an animal that still has winter ahead, that cost matters. Autumn is not only a season of mating, it is also a season of preparation. A deer needs food before the cold months arrive. It needs fat stores. It needs safe bedding places. It needs enough strength to move through snow, frozen ground, and shorter days. The rut asks the body to spend energy at the very time the year is beginning to tighten. That is part of what makes it so powerful. The buck is pulled between caution and reproduction, between hunger and movement, between the need to survive winter and the drive to pass life forward. A doe moves through this season differently, but she is part of the same pattern. She may be followed by bucks when she is ready to breed. Her scent can draw males from a distance. A quiet trail she used in summer may become busier in autumn, with tracks crossing and recrossing the same soft ground. The forest that once seemed still now carries hidden urgency beneath its calm surface. The leaves are falling. The air is colder. The antlers are hard. The scrapes are fresh. The deer are moving. And this seasonal boldness, so useful in the older forest, now carries the animal into places its ancestors never had to understand. Bright roads, wire fences, headlights, engines, open lawns, hard surfaces where ancient instincts meet a modern world. The modern world does not remove the old instinct. It gives that instinct new obstacles. A buck moving through the rut is following a pattern much older than pavement. His body responds to shorter days. His hormones rise. His antlers are hard. His nose follows scent across fields, through brush, along creek beds, and over the same ridges deer may have used for generations. But now, many of those paths are crossed by roads. A deer trail may lead from a bedding area in young trees to an open feeding field. A doe may cross from one patch of woods to another. A buck may follow her scent without caring where the tree line ends. Then the forest breaks. The ground becomes gravel, shoulder, ditch, asphalt, painted lines, and headlights. For a deer, the road is not part of the old map. It does not smell like a predator in the normal way. It does not move like a wolf, a cougar, or a coyote. It is a hard, open strip where large objects appear quickly, often with sound, light, and speed arriving together. During the rut, deer often move more than they do in calmer seasons. Males may travel beyond their usual home range while searching for females. They may cross unfamiliar ground. They may move during early morning, evening, or night, when human drivers also have reduced visibility. This is why autumn can bring more deer and vehicle encounters in many places. The deer is not choosing the road as a road. It is crossing space. A road simply cuts through that space, and the timing can be cruel. Dusk is useful for deer because low light gives them cover. But dusk is difficult for drivers because shapes soften, shadows lengthen, and the edge of the road becomes harder to read. A brown deer standing near brown grass and bare branches can vanish into the background until it moves. Then, for a moment, the eyes may shine in headlights. The body may freeze. The legs may spring. The white tail may lift. Everything happens too quickly for an animal built to escape predators on foot. Not machines moving 40, 50, or 60 miles per hour. The deer's usual defenses do not always work here. Freezing can help it study a sound in the forest. On a road, freezing can place it directly in the path of a vehicle. A sudden leap can help it clear brush or a fallen log. On pavement, that same leap can carry it into the next lane. Following another deer can help a group move through cover. On a road, it means a second or third deer may cross after the first one, even after the first has already passed. This is why a single deer near a road often means there may be more nearby. The road changes the meaning of ordinary movement. It turns a feeding route into a crossing. It turns a scent trail into a risk. It turns the narrow space between two patches of habitat into a place where ancient timing meets modern speed. And roads are very new in the long history of deer. Deer-like animals have been moving through forests and open land for millions of years. Modern paved roads, cars, and bright headlights are barely a blink compared with that deep time. The white-tailed deer, the mule deer, the elk, and the moose will carry bodies shaped long before traffic existed. Their senses are excellent, but they were not shaped around engines. Their legs are fast, but not built for judging the speed of a vehicle. Their fear is real, but the road gives fear a strange new form. It comes not as a scent moving through the trees, but as light and motion on a surface the animal must cross. This does not mean deer cannot learn. Many deer become familiar with human places. They may use culverts, field edges, railway lines, ditches, and gaps in fences. In some regions, wildlife crossings have been built to help animals pass over or under roads more safely. A bridge covered with soil, grass, shrubs, and small trees can guide deer and other animals across a highway. A tunnel beneath a road can connect two sides of a habitat that were once split apart. These crossings show how much the landscape has changed. They also show that deer are still trying to move through it. The deer's ancient body now lives inside a human-shaped map. Roads are one part of that map. Fences, farms, lawns, parks, gardens, orchards, and suburbs are others. And the same adaptability that brings deer close to danger also helps them find new food, new cover, and new edges where wildness still fits between human places. The places between human things and wild things are often where deer become most visible. Not the deepest forest, not the widest open field, but the edge. The strip where trees meet grass, where a farm field touches a woodlot, where a roadside ditch fills with clover, where a backyard fades into brush, where a meadow begins just beyond the last row of houses. Many deer do well in these edges because an edge gives them two important things close together: food and cover. An open field may have grasses, weeds, crops, flowers, fallen fruit, and tender new growth. A forest may have shade, trunks, shrubs, fallen branches, and places to hide. Where the two meet, a deer can step out to feed, then slip back into cover with only a few bounds. That closeness matters. A deer does not want to stand far from safety for long. Even while feeding, it lifts its head again and again. It chews. It listens. It tests the air. Then it lowers its head once more. At a forest edge, the animal can eat without fully leaving shelter behind. This is one reason white-tailed deer are so common around farms, suburbs, parks, and country roads. They are not animals of only untouched wilderness. They often thrive in broken landscapes: a patch of trees, a hayfield, a cornfield, a creek line, a cemetery, a golf course, a power line clearing, a backyard with shrubs and flowers. To a person, this may look like a landscape divided into separate pieces. To a deer, it can be a connected map of feeding places and hiding places. The deep forest can be rich in shelter, but not always rich in easy food. Under a closed canopy, where tall trees block much of the sunlight, fewer low plants may grow. There may be shade, leaf litter, moss, roots, and scattered saplings, but less of the soft green growth deer prefer during warm months. When sunlight reaches the ground at an edge, plants often grow more thickly. Blackberries may climb along the margin. Goldenrod, clover, sumac, young maples, young oaks, and grasses may fill the openings. Apple trees near old farms may drop fruit in autumn. Soybean fields and cornfields may offer high-energy crops. Garden plants may offer soft leaves that never evolved with deer pressure in that exact setting. An edge can become a buffet beside a hiding place. Modern human landscapes create many edges. A road cut through forest creates two new borders. A housing development leaves strips of trees behind homes. A field abandoned after farming may grow into young brush. A power line corridor keeps trees low and lets shrubs and grasses fill the open path. Even a lawn beside a wooded ravine can become an edge. For some wild animals, this kind of broken land is a problem. They need large, quiet areas. They need deep interior forest. They avoid people, dogs, noise, and roads. But many deer can use these disturbed places. They adjust. They move at dawn, dusk, and night. They bed in small woodlots. They follow creek beds through towns. They cross lawns when the lights are low. They learn which yards have dogs and which do not. They learn which paths offer cover between one patch of trees and another. This does not mean edge life is easy. Edges also bring danger. Cars move along roads. Fences block old paths. Dogs bark from yards. People appear suddenly on trails. Open spaces expose deer to sight. But deer live by balancing risk and reward. An edge gives them just enough shelter and just enough food to make the risk worth taking. A doe may bed her fawn near a brushy field edge. A buck may rub saplings along a hedgerow. A group of deer may feed in a meadow, then vanish into a thin strip of woods so narrow that a person driving past barely notices it. This is the quiet skill of an edge animal. It does not need a perfect wilderness. It needs pieces. It needs cover within reach. It needs food close enough to safety. It needs a path between shadows. That is why deer can appear where the wild world seems almost squeezed out. Behind grocery stores, beside school fields, near old orchards, along suburban trails, at the edge of a four-lane road, with woods on one side and houses on the other. The deer does not see those places the way humans do. It reads them by cover, scent, food, distance, and escape. And once a creature can live so well in the broken spaces between human lives, it begins to succeed in places where other animals quietly disappear. This is how a deer can become part of a neighborhood without ever becoming tame. It may sleep in a strip of trees behind a row of houses. It may step from a wooded ravine onto a lawn just after sunset. It may walk past a mailbox, cross a driveway, and lower its head toward a garden bed under the soft glow of a porch light. The animal is still wild. Its ears still turn toward every small sound. Its nose still tests the air. Its legs are still ready to spring away. But the setting around it has changed. Instead of a mountain meadow or a deep forest clearing, there may be trimmed grass, flower beds, backyard fences, playgrounds, sidewalks, storm drains, and parked cars, cooling in the evening air. Suburbs can offer deer a surprising amount of food. Lawns may grow clover, dandelions, and soft new grass. Gardens may hold lettuce, beans, peas, tulips, lilies, hostas, roses, daylilies, and young fruit trees. Ornamental shrubs, planted for beauty rather than defense, may have tender leaves within easy reach. Apple trees, crabapple trees, pear trees, and berry bushes can drop fruit in late summer and autumn. A deer that would spend time searching for scattered food in a forest may find a whole row of nutritious plants lined up beside a house. Suburbs also offer cover. Not always deep cover, not always old forest, but enough. A wooded lot between streets, a brushy creek corridor, a cemetery with trees and quiet grass, a park with trails and ravines, a golf course bordered by shrubs, an abandoned field growing into young saplings. These small patches can become resting places, travel routes, and hiding spots. A deer does not always need miles of unbroken wilderness. It may only need a chain of safe pieces, close enough to move between. And in many suburbs, large predators are rare. Wolves are gone from most neighborhoods. Cougars are absent from many eastern towns and cities. Bears may pass through some regions, but not most suburban blocks. Coyotes can still live near people, and they may prey on fawns, but they are not the same pressure as a full community of large predators. Hunting is often limited or not allowed near homes, schools, and busy streets. So the suburban deer may find a strange kind of shelter near humans. Not because humans are harmless, but because human spaces can remove some dangers while adding others. Cars are dangerous. Dogs are dangerous. Fences can trap or redirect movement. But a quiet backyard at night can still be safer than a wild opening watched by predators. Over time, deer may learn the rhythm of these places. They may feed before sunrise, when bedroom windows are dark and streets are empty. They may appear at dusk, when the sky is blue-gray and porch lights begin to shine. They may move at night through yards, school fields, and strips of grass beside roads. A doe may bring her fawn through the same neighborhood route again and again. A small group may learn that one yard has apple drops in September, while another has hostas in June. They may pause near motion lights, then continue once nothing follows. They may stand so close to houses that a person can watch them from behind glass. Still, their comfort has limits. A door opening too quickly can send them running. A dog barking behind a fence can lift every head at once. A person walking too close can make the whole group bound away, white tails rising in the dim light. They are not pets. They are not fully at ease. They are wild animals that have learned how to use the edges of human life. This is what makes the suburban deer feel so strange. In one scene, it is a forest animal. In another, it is eating hostas beside a front porch. Its hooves touch mulch instead of moss. Its body moves between garbage bins and maple trees. Its shadow crosses pavement before slipping back into brush. The old deer body has not changed very much. The stomach still needs plants. The nose still follows scent. The ears still rotate. The legs still prepare to vanish. But the landscape around that body has been rearranged by people. And when an animal succeeds in that rearranged landscape, its success begins to spread outward. The garden changes. The young trees change. The flowers change. The number of deer changes. And soon, the quiet animal under the porch light becomes part of a much larger question about what happens when deer do not merely survive near humans, but thrive there. Success can be quiet too. It does not always look like a crowd. Sometimes it looks like a few deer at the edge of a lawn. A doe and 2 fawns near a garden. 3 deer under an apple tree in September. A buck crossing a road at dusk. But when the same pattern repeats across many neighborhoods, parks, farms, and woodlots, the numbers begin to matter. In some regions, deer become very dense. This can happen when food is easy to find. Winters are mild enough for many animals to survive. Hunting is limited, and large predators are rare or gone. White-tailed deer are especially good at using these conditions. A healthy doe can often give birth to twins. In rich habitat, some does may even have triplets. That means a deer population can grow quickly when many young survive and many adults live long enough to breed again. The animal that seems gentle alone becomes powerful as a group. One deer browsing a sapling may not change the forest. 10 deer returning to the same area every week can do more. A dense population feeding through the same woods for years can change what grows there. This is called overbrowsing. It means deer are eating more young plants than the land can replace. The signs are often subtle at first. A young oak disappears before it reaches knee height. A maple seedling sends up new leaves, then loses them again. A trillium flower opens in spring, but the stem is eaten before it can make seeds. A shrub grows leaves only above the height a deer can reach. After enough time, the forest floor can begin to look strangely open. A person walking through may notice that they can see far between the trunks. There may be tall trees overhead, but very few young trees below. The missing layer matters. Young trees are the forest's future canopy. Shrubs and wildflowers feed insects. Insects feed birds. Thick understory gives cover to nesting birds, rabbits, mice, chipmunks, frogs, and salamanders. When that layer thins out, the effect spreads beyond the plants. A bird that nests low in shrubs may find fewer safe places to hide. A butterfly may lose the plant its caterpillars need. A salamander may find the ground drier because fewer plants shade the leaf litter. Even the soil can change when plant roots, fallen leaves, and ground cover are reduced. The deer is not trying to damage anything. It is eating to live. It is feeding its rumen. It is keeping its body warm. It is making milk for fawns. It is gathering energy for winter. But ecology often works through results, not intentions. The deer does not need to know. It is shaping the woods. Its mouth is enough. This is why deer can be confusing to think about. A single deer in a field may feel like a symbol of peace. It moves softly. It watches with dark eyes. It seems fragile beside cars, houses, storms, and winter. But a large deer population is not fragile in the same way. It is an ecological force. It can choose the plants the forest keeps. It can favor species deer do not like to eat. It can make room for invasive plants if those plants are left behind, while native plants are browsed. It can change the food web from the ground up. The same animal can be both beautiful and disruptive, gentle as a body, powerful as a population. This does not make deer bad. It makes them important. It means their numbers matter. It means their absence would matter too. A forest with no deer would lose one kind of pressure. A forest with too many deer can lose another kind of balance. Somewhere between those extremes is a living rhythm. Plants grow, deer feed, predators hunt, fawns hide, trees replace trees, birds nest in the understory. The forest keeps making itself. But when one part of that rhythm changes, the rest must answer. And in many modern places, the missing part is not the deer. The missing part is what once kept deer moving carefully through the woods. The pressure that made them lift their heads more often. The presence that shaped their bodies, their senses, their paths, and their fear. The pressure that once followed deer through the forest had teeth, paws, claws, and human footsteps. For millions of years, deer did not move through empty landscapes. They moved through watched landscapes. Wolves could follow trails through snow. Cougars could wait from cover, low and silent. Coyotes could search for fawns in spring grass. Black bears could find vulnerable young deer in certain seasons. Humans, too, became part of that pressure long ago, hunting deer for meat, hides, bone, antler, and tools. A deer's body makes more sense when it is seen inside that older world. The side-placed eyes, the rotating ears, the wide wet nose, the sudden leap, the habit of freezing before flight. All of these traits belong to an animal that has been shaped by being prey. Prey animals do not only survive by running fast, they survive by making careful choices before running is needed. Where to feed, when to step into the open, how long to keep the head down, which trail to use, how far to stay from thick cover. A deer in a forest with predators may avoid certain open places, even if the food there is good. It may feed more at the edge instead of the center of a meadow. It may spend less time in one patch before moving on. It may lift its head more often, chew less casually, and keep its body turned toward escape. Fear changes the map. The grass is still grass. The saplings are still saplings. The creek crossing is still there. But the meaning of each place changes depending on who might be nearby. A valley can be rich with food and still feel dangerous. A thicket can be poor in food and still feel safe. A trail can be short and easy, but avoided because it passes through cover where a predator might wait. This is sometimes called the landscape of fear. It means an animal's choices are shaped not only by food, water, and shelter, but by the risk it feels in each place. Fear becomes almost like weather, invisible but active. A forest with wolves is not the same as a forest without wolves. Even if the trees are the same species and the streams run in the same direction. The deer may still browse. They may still raise fawns. They may still cross meadows at dusk, but they do so with a different caution. They are less likely to linger too long in exposed places. They are more likely to shift their paths. They may avoid areas where predator scent is strong, or where past danger has taught them to move carefully. Cougars can shape deer in another way. A cougar often hunts by stalking and ambush. It depends on getting close before the deer notices. So deer living with that kind of predator must pay attention to cover, shadows, wind, and sudden silence. A wolf pack can shape deer differently. Wolves may test, follow, and wear down weaker animals over distance. That kind of pressure rewards endurance, alertness, group awareness, and the ability to choose terrain well. Coyotes may be especially important for fawns in some places. A small fawn hidden in grass is not only hiding from human eyes, it may also be hiding from a coyote nose moving through the field. Predators do not need to catch every deer to change deer behavior. Their presence alone can be enough. a scent mark, a track in mud, a howl in the distance, a sudden alarm from birds or squirrels. These signs can make deer leave a feeding patch earlier or avoid a place for a while. That small change can protect young plants from being eaten too heavily. It can give seedlings more time to grow. It can let certain flowers bloom and set seed. So the predator shapes more than the deer. It shapes the deer's effect on the forest. In places where large predators have been reduced or removed, deer may feed longer in places they once used more carefully. They may gather in larger numbers. They may browse young trees and understory plants more heavily. The forest can begin to look different, not because the soil changed or the sunlight changed, but because the pattern of fear changed. This is the quiet connection between predator and leaf, between wolf track and sapling, between cougar shadow and wildflower. The deer carries fear in its muscles, senses, and habits. And when that fear is missing, the forest feels it too. A living system does not only depend on who eats whom, it also depends on who makes whom move. And when deer no longer have to move in the old ways, the changes can remain in the woods for generations. Winter makes the deer smaller in the landscape, not smaller in body, smaller in choice. The same animal that moved through green fields in June may now stand in a grey woodlot with snow around its legs. The clover is gone. The tender leaves are gone. The soft garden plants, wildflowers, and fresh shoots have disappeared under frost, ice, or deep snow. The world has narrowed. In summer, a deer can feed from many layers of the land. Grass at its feet, leaves on shrubs, young shoots along trails, berries, flowers, herbs, crops, and soft green plants growing in open light. In autumn, acorns, apples, beech nuts, and other high-energy foods can help build fat before the cold months arrive. But winter is different. The food that remains is often harder, drier, and less rich. A deer may eat woody browse, which means the twigs, buds, and young stems of trees and shrubs. It may nip the ends of maple, birch, dogwood, cedar, hemlock, sumac, or young oak, depending on what grows nearby. It may reach for evergreen tips when other food is buried. It may paw through snow for leftover grasses, acorns, or low plants. Every mouthful can cost more effort. Snow changes movement, too. A few inches may only soften the ground, but deep snow changes the whole body's work. The legs have to lift higher, the hooves sink, the chest may push through drifts. A short walk to food can burn more energy than it would in autumn. Crusted snow can be even harder. The surface may hold for a moment, then break under the deer's weight. Each step becomes uneven. Each break in the crust can scrape the legs or slow the animal down. For a deer, winter is often a math problem written in cold air. How much energy can it take in? How much energy must it spend? How far is the food? How deep is the snow? How strong is the wind? How safe is the cover? A deer does not solve this with numbers. It solves it with movement. It chooses sheltered places. It follows easier paths. It beds where the wind is blocked. It feeds where food is close enough to reach without wasting too much strength. In northern regions, deer may gather in wintering areas, sometimes called deer yards. These are places where evergreen trees, such as cedar, spruce, fir, or hemlock, create cover from wind and snow. The branches catch snowfall before it reaches the ground. Under the trees, the snow may be shallower. The air may be slightly calmer. The deer can move on packed trails made by repeated steps. These trails become narrow winter roads through the cover. A deer may use the same packed path again and again, because breaking a new path through snow costs more. South-facing slopes can also matter. In the northern hemisphere, these slopes receive more sunlight during winter. Snow may melt sooner there. The ground may warm slightly. Exposed plants may be easier to reach. A small difference in sun and shelter can matter when the whole season is built around saving energy. The deer's body changes its pace in winter. It may move less. It may feed more carefully. It may spend long hours bedded down, chewing, digesting, and conserving warmth. The thick winter coat helps. Each hair can trap air near the body, creating insulation. The coat often turns grey-brown, blending with bare trunks, dry grasses, and winter shadows. A deer standing still in leafless woods can look almost like part of the trees. Yet even with these adaptations, winter is not gentle. Young deer may struggle. Older deer may weaken. A hard winter with deep snow, ice, and long cold spells can reduce survival. Predators may find deer easier to catch when snow slows them. Food that is buried might as well be gone. The body that seemed so quick in autumn now has to be careful with every step. This is where the deer's success becomes less simple. It can live near humans. It can reshape forests. It can grow antlers, raise fawns, read the wind, and move through edges with quiet skill. But winter reminds us that survival is never guaranteed. The deer is always balancing. Hunger against safety. Movement against energy. Open food against sheltered cover. The need to feed against the cost of reaching the food. And when the snow deepens, the wide world of summer becomes a smaller map of trails, beds, evergreen shade, and careful paths through the cold. The careful paths through winter do not always begin in winter. For many deer, the season is answered long before the deepest snow arrives. Movement becomes a kind of memory. A deer may spend summer in one place, where plants are rich, days are long, and new growth climbs across hillsides. Then, as cold returns, it may move toward another place, where snow is shallower, wind is softer, and food is easier to reach. This seasonal movement is called migration. Migration simply means a repeated journey between different places at different times of year. Not all deer migrate. Some white-tailed deer may live within a fairly small home range if food, cover, and winter shelter are close together. A suburban deer may spend much of its life within a patchwork of yards, woods, ravines, and fields. But in mountains, northern forests, and wide western landscapes, movement can become much larger. Mule deer in parts of the American West may travel from high summer ranges down to lower winter ranges. In summer, they may feed in mountain meadows where snow has melted and plants are fresh. In winter, those same high places may become too deep, too cold, and too costly to cross. So the deer follows a route downward, along ridges, through valleys, across sagebrush flats, past streams, fences, roads, and old trails pressed into the land by many hooves before it. Some mule deer migrations in states like Wyoming, Idaho, and Colorado can stretch for many dozens of miles. A few are longer than 100 miles. These are not random wanderings. The deer are often moving between specific seasonal ranges. One place for summer feeding, another place for winter survival. The timing can follow snow, temperature, and plant growth. In spring, deer may follow what researchers sometimes call the green wave. This means they move with the fresh flush of new plants as it climbs in elevation or spreads across the land. Young green plants can be rich in nutrients and easier to digest. By moving at the right time, deer can feed on new growth again and again as the season unfolds. It is almost as if the animal is walking along the edge of spring. In autumn, the movement can reverse. Snow begins closing the high country. Plants dry or disappear. The deer moves toward lower slopes, river valleys, south-facing hillsides, or sheltered basins where winter is less severe. Reindeer and caribou carry this pattern across an even larger scale. Some caribou herds in the far north travel across tundra, boreal forest, river crossings, and windswept snowfields between calving grounds and winter ranges. Their journeys can cover hundreds of miles, and in some herds, even more. The land they cross may look empty from the air, but to the animals, it is full of remembered lines. A river bend, a mountain pass, a patch of lichen, a place where snow hardens, a place where insects swarm in summer, a place where calves have been born before. For deer, migration is not only about distance, it is about knowing when distance is worth the cost. Every mile uses energy. Every road crossing brings risk. Every fence can slow a herd. Every new development can cut across an old route. Yet the route may still pull at the animals because it connects the body to the season. In many deer, young animals learn by following older ones. A fawn or calf does not begin life with a complete map of every valley and slope. It follows its mother. It learns where to pause, where to cross, where to feed, and where the snow becomes too deep. Over time, the path becomes more than a line on the ground. It becomes knowledge carried in bodies. A trail through mountain sagebrush may hold hoofprints from this year, last year, and decades before. A narrow pass between ridges may guide animals that never saw the first deer to use it. A winter range may receive the descendants of animals that survived there long before there were highways, ranch fences, ski towns, or satellite collars to track them. This makes deer seem ancient in a different way. Not only ancient because their family has lived for millions of years. Ancient because their movements can carry old information through living memory. The deer is not just crossing land. It is following a relationship with the land. Snow, sunlight, elevation, food, cover, and danger all shape the route. And as the animal moves through the valley or along the mountain slope, it carries a map older than any road sign, older than any fence line, and older than the modern world around it. That old map inside a moving deer reaches farther back than any trail through snow. It reaches into deep time, long before suburbs, farms, fences, highways, porch lights, and garden beds. Deer-like animals were already moving through ancient landscapes. The modern deer family belongs to a much older group of hoofed plant eaters called ruminants. Ruminants include deer, cattle, sheep, goats, antelope, giraffes, and bison. They share the special digestive system that helps turn tough plants into energy. That system was already becoming important tens of millions of years ago, as mammals spread into new habitats after the age of dinosaurs. True deer, or animals very close to deer, became more recognizable during the Miocene epoch. The Miocene lasted from about 23 million years ago to about 5 million years ago. It was a long age of changing forests, expanding grasslands, cooling climates, and shifting continents. During that time, early deer relatives lived in parts of Europe and Asia. Some were small compared with many deer today. Some had simpler head structures than the antlers we know now. Their bodies were already part of a world of leaves, branches, predators, and movement. The first antlers were not always wide, heavy crowns. In early deer, they could be smaller, simpler, and less branched. Over time, antlers became more varied. Some grew forked shapes. Some became larger displays. Some species evolved long beams, broad palms, or short spikes. The cycle of growing, hardening, using, shedding, and growing again became one of the most remarkable patterns in the deer family. That cycle connects a buck standing in a modern field to animals that walked beneath forests no human ever saw. The climate was different then. The trees were different. The predators were different. But the basic bargain was already forming. Eat plants. Digest them slowly. Watch for danger. Move when the season changes. Compete when the time comes. Raise young that can hide, follow, and learn. A deer under a streetlight may look like a creature of the present moment. Its hooves may be on asphalt. Its shadow may fall across a driveway. Its ears may turn toward the hum of a car or the click of a porch door. But inside that scene is an animal shaped by ancient problems. How to take energy from leaves. How to notice danger early. How to move through broken cover. How to grow new bone when the year demands it. How to survive cold, hunger, and the pressure of being hunted. Even browsing has deep roots. A deer's narrow muzzle and mobile lips help it choose specific leaves, buds, fruits, and twigs. Its teeth are made for clipping and grinding plant material. Its rumen holds microbes that help break down the cellulose in plant cell walls. That means the deer is tied not only to the present forest, but to a long history of plant-eating mammals, learning how to live from stems, leaves, bark, and seasonal growth. As forests changed, deer changed with them. As grasslands opened, some deer became more comfortable in wider spaces. As cold regions spread, some lineages learned to move through snow. As wetlands, mountains, and dense woods offered different challenges, the deer family kept dividing into new forms. A white-tailed deer stepping through a suburban yard is not a fossil. It is alive, alert, and completely modern in its own way. But it is also carrying a design shaped across millions of years. The side-placed eyes, the split hooves, the rumen, the seasonal coat, the fawn's stillness, the buck's antlers, the careful pause before stepping into the open. All of it belongs to a long experiment in survival. That is what makes the deer feel different after we look closely. The animal near the road is not simple. It is not merely gentle. It is a living answer to old forests, old predators, old winters, and old hunger. And that ancient answer did not stay in one shape. Across the planet, the same deer pattern stretched, widened, shrank, and changed until it became many different animals, each carrying the family in its own way. That wider survival strategy becomes clearer when the deer family spreads out in many directions. The same family that gives us the white-tailed deer also gives us the moose. And a moose can feel almost impossible to fit inside the same word. A large bull moose can stand more than 6 feet tall at the shoulder. Some males can weigh over 1,000 pounds. Its legs are long and pale, built for stepping through deep snow, wet muskeg, willow thickets, and cold northern water. Its muzzle is broad and heavy. Its antlers can spread wider than a doorway, shaped not like thin branches, but like open palms of bone. In Canada, Alaska, Scandinavia, and parts of Russia, moose often live close to lakes, ponds, rivers, and wetlands. They feed on willow, birch, aspen, aquatic plants, and shrubs. In summer, a moose may wade chest-deep into a lake and lower its head underwater to pull up soft plants from the bottom. It is still a deer, but it is a deer stretched into a cold, wet, northern shape. Farther north, across tundra and boreal forest, reindeer and caribou show another version of the family. They are the same species, Rangifer tarandus. In North America, wild animals are often called caribou. In Eurasia and among domestic herds, they are often called reindeer. Their world is shaped by snow, wind, insects, lichens, long migrations, and very short growing seasons. Their hooves are wide and spreading, helping them walk over snow and soft ground. In winter, the edges of the hooves become harder and sharper, helping them dig through snow crust to reach lichens and low plants. Reindeer are also unusual because in many populations, both males and females grow antlers. That is rare among deer. A female reindeer may carry antlers through winter, which can help her compete for feeding spots when snow makes food harder to reach. So in one branch of the deer family, antlers are not only about male competition. They can also help mothers survive the hardest part of the year. Then the family shrinks. In the dense forests of Asia, muntjacs move through thick vegetation with small bodies and secretive habits. Some muntjacs stand only about knee-high to a person. They are sometimes called barking deer because they can give sharp, dog-like alarm calls when disturbed. Males often have short antlers, but they may also have long upper canine teeth that curve downward like tiny tusks. This gives them a strange and ancient look, as if they belong to an older version of the deer family. A muntjac slipping through bamboo, shrubs, and shadow does not need the towering size of a moose. It needs quiet movement. It needs cover. It needs a small body that can vanish into dense green growth. In South America, the pudu shows the family becoming smaller still. The southern pudu, found in parts of Chile and Argentina, is one of the smallest deer in the world. It may stand only around 14 to 17 inches at the shoulder. Its body is rounded and compact. Its legs are short. Its antlers are small, simple spikes. In the damp forests of the Andes, a pudu can move through thick understory, almost like a shadow close to the ground. It browses leaves, shoots, fruit, and soft plants. Instead of running across wide open fields, it depends on cover, secrecy, and the close shelter of the forest. Moose, reindeer, muntjacs, and pudus do not look like one simple idea. One stands in northern water with huge palmed antlers. One crosses Arctic snow in herds, following old routes across the land. One barks from dense Asian forest and carries small tusk-like teeth. One moves low through South American undergrowth, hardly taller than a large dog. Yet each one belongs to the deer family. Each one carries split hooves. Each one feeds on plants. Each one lives by noticing danger. Each one has found a different answer to the same basic problem: how to turn the plants of a place into movement, warmth, young, and survival. This makes the familiar backyard deer feel different. It is not the standard version. It is only one version, one local expression of a much larger pattern. The deer outside a window at dusk is related to giants in cold wetlands, travelers on tundra, small forest shadows, and antlered animals most people will never see. And once that becomes clear, the ordinary deer no longer feels ordinary. It becomes one face in a family that has learned to survive by changing shape with the world around it. This is why deer can feel so close and so mysterious at the same time. They live near the places humans have made. Roads, fields, farms, cemeteries, parks, golf courses, schoolyards, suburbs, old orchards, thin strips of woods behind houses. A deer may step out beside a highway at dusk, with traffic passing only a few yards away. Another may stand between rows of corn, its ears just visible above the leaves. Another may move through a cemetery in the early morning, placing its hooves softly between stones, grass, and old trees. Another may feed in a city park before the first walkers arrive. These are not untouched wilderness places. They are shared places, human places with wild edges. And deer have learned to live there with a strange kind of grace. They are close enough to see, but never fully ours. A person may watch a deer through a kitchen window while holding a cup of coffee. For a few seconds, the animal seems almost peaceful. Its head lowers. Its jaw moves slowly. Its body stands in the blue-grey light before sunrise. Then a sound comes. A door latch. A dog collar. A car starting. The deer lifts its head, freezes, turns, and slips away. The wildness returns all at once. That may be part of why deer stay in human memory. They appear at the boundary, not fully hidden, not fully knowable. They are familiar enough to become childhood symbols. Bambi made the young deer into an image of innocence for generations of children. Storybooks, holiday cards, forest paintings, and old cartoons often show deer as gentle, wide-eyed animals standing among flowers or snow. But real deer are not only symbols. They are browsers, clipping buds and seedlings from the forest floor. They are prey animals, always reading the air for danger. They are mothers hiding fawns in tall grass. They are bucks scraping leaves from the ground in autumn. They are ruminants, carrying a warm chamber of microbes inside the body. They are antler growers, building living bone from the skull, then casting it away. They are survivors of winter, roads, predators, hunger, and human change. This makes them hard to hold in one simple idea. A single deer can look delicate. A large deer population can reshape a forest. A doe with a fawn can feel tender. A group feeding heavily through a park can prevent young trees from growing. A buck in autumn can look majestic under bare branches. That same buck may cross a road unpredictably because an old breeding instinct has pulled him through a modern landscape. The deer is beautiful. The deer is disruptive. The deer is vulnerable. The deer is powerful. All of these are true at once. That is what makes the animal haunting. Not frightening, exactly, but layered. The deer carries contradictions quietly. It stands under a streetlight with an ancient body. It eats garden plants beside a house, but belongs to a family that includes moose in northern wetlands and reindeer crossing Arctic snow. It looks soft, but its body is built for sudden escape. It looks peaceful, but its life is shaped by fear. It looks ordinary, but its skull can grow bone like a season. It seems like a visitor in the forest, but its mouth can change which plants live there. A deer at dusk is never only a deer at dusk. It is childhood memory. It is roadside warning. It is forest pressure. It is prey and survivor. It is a body carrying old instincts through a world of fences, headlights, lawns, and young trees. The opening image has changed now. The deer at the edge of the field is no longer just a quiet shape in the grass. Its ears are listening. Its nose is reading the wind. Its stomach is holding a hidden world of microbes. Its hooves are ready for mud, snow, leaves, and pavement. Its family stretches from tiny forest deer to animals taller than a person at the shoulder. The same stillness is there, the same softness. But now the softness has weight behind it. The deer feels familiar because it lives near us. It feels mysterious because it has never belonged to us. And when it stands at the edge of the trees, half visible in the dimming light, it seems to carry both worlds in one quiet body. And so the deer returns to where it began, at the edge of a road, at the edge of a field, at the edge of the trees. Maybe it is standing just beyond a window at dusk, where the grass has gone dim and the first porch lights are beginning to glow. Maybe it is half hidden near a country road, with one hoof lifted and both ears turned toward the sound of a distant car. Maybe it is only a shape in the meadow, brown against brown, so still that for a moment it seems like part of the land itself. But now that shape holds more. The deer is no longer only the gentle animal from childhood stories. It is not only Bambi. It is not only the quiet visitor outside a farmhouse window. It is a ruminant, carrying a warm, hidden chamber inside its body, where microbes help turn leaves, stems, buds, twigs, acorns, clover, and bark into energy. It is a browser, choosing tender growth from young trees and shrubs, one mouthful at a time. It is a forest shaper, because enough soft bites, repeated across years, can decide which seedlings grow tall, and which flowers fade from the understory. It is a sensory specialist. Its nose reads the wind. Its ears turn toward tiny sounds. Its side-placed eyes watch for motion at the edge of the world. A deer standing still is not empty or unaware. It is listening. It is smelling. It is comparing the forest to the memory of what the forest should feel like. It is a body built to vanish, with long legs, split hooves, powerful hindquarters, and a spine that can release into sudden motion. 1 second, it may stand in the grass. The next, it may bound over a ditch, flash its white tail, and dissolve between the trees. It is also an antler grower. In many deer, bone rises from the skull each year, first under velvet, then hardened into display, signal, and weapon. The antler is a calendar made visible. Spring growth, summer velvet, autumn competition, winter shedding, then renewal. The deer is a parent, too. A fawn begins life almost hidden from the world, spotted like sunlight on leaves, lying still in grass or leaf litter with very little scent. Its first survival skill is not speed. It is stillness. It is the art of being almost invisible. The deer is a creature of seasons. In summer, the world widens with green plants and soft feeding places. In autumn, acorns fall, hormones rise, antlers harden, and the rut sends deer across fields, trails, ditches, and roads. In winter, the world narrows again. Snow makes movement costly. Food becomes woody and sparse. Evergreen cover, south-facing slopes, packed trails, and sheltered beds can become the difference between strength and exhaustion. The deer is prey. Wolves, cougars, coyotes, bears, and humans have all shaped the way deer move, pause, listen, and flee. Fear is not only a feeling inside the animal. It is part of the forest structure. It changes where deer feed, how long they stay, and how much pressure young plants receive. The deer is also an animal of human edges. It moves through farms, suburbs, parks, cemeteries, golf courses, roadside ditches, orchards, backyards, and wooded ravines. It can eat hostas beneath a porch light and still remain wild. It can cross pavement with an ancient body that was shaped long before headlights and painted lanes. It can live close to people without ever belonging to people. And it is part of a much larger family. The same word deer can hold a white-tailed deer in a field, a mule deer in dry western hills, an elk in a mountain meadow, a moose standing chest-deep in a northern lake, a reindeer crossing Arctic snow, a muntjac slipping through Asian forest, and a tiny pudu moving low through South American undergrowth. The familiar deer outside the window is only one expression of that wider pattern. Hooves, plants, scent, fear, movement, season, memory. So when the deer appears again at dusk, the picture is changed. The body is still quiet. The eyes are still dark. The ears are still soft against the dimming light. But now the animal carries the forest with it. It carries hunger and caution. It carries antlers and winter. It carries fawns hidden in grass. It carries predators, trails, old migrations, and the pressure of soft teeth on young trees. It carries millions of years of change into the small space between a field and a road. And perhaps, the next time a deer stands at the edge of the trees, it will not seem ordinary at all. It will seem like a whole quiet world, pausing for a moment in the fading light.